Hi everyone, my name is Lars Kode, and I have the enviable job of being International Brand Ambassador for the Danish spirits adventure behind Exo Reserve. Congratulations on having your very own Exo Reserve tasting kit. You can enjoy your Exo Reserve tasting when and where it suits you, no matter whether you are alone or in good company. You have opened your taster box and all the instructions, and now I'm ready to tell you everything about this small treasure chest and its content. You have bought a taster set with 8 samples. But what now? Aren't there 9 bottles? Indeed there are. Is that a mistake? By no means. We are just so happy to have you on board, so we have included a small surprise besides the 8 bottles we'll be tasting. You can enjoy whenever you feel like it. 9 bottles in total, all clearly labeled and filled with 2 cl of the finest spirits you can imagine. You can drink it straight out of the bottle, but that would be a pity. The centerpiece of our taster box is therefore a beautiful taster glass. However, that is not all. Inside the box, you will also find 9 coasters with taste notes and space for you to add your own assessment. And finally, it would be a really good idea to have some water within reach. You can drink some water to cleanse your palate between each drink. And you can also, with a steady hand or a pipette, add a drop or 2 to the glass. When the spirits from Exo Reserve has been confined in a bottle for a while, it can be a good idea to open your drink with a single drop of water. You can actually use a straw, as I do here. Remember that it is much easier to add water to your Riise than removing it again. You are not meant to dilute it, just open it. Welcome. Allow me to show you what you'll find in your taster box. I think you might agree that the most important things are the small tempting bottles. The bottles each contain 2 cl of golden drops. The bottles have a size that matches their content. Air is the enemy in a bottle of spirits, since it takes away taste and not the least alcohol from the precious drink. As little air as possible, that is rule number 1. In the middle of your taster box, you will find a glass that is perfect for tasting the individual bottles. The glass is tulip shaped, with an opening that is a bit narrower than the bottom of the glass. The shape of the glass allows the aroma to gather exactly where you place the tip of your nose, so that you get a concentrated sense of the smell. The glass is clear and transparent. Without impurities, this allows you to inspect the color when you hold the glass against the light. Without getting confused by the color of the glass. Ideally, you should have a glass for each of the bottles. But if you sit at home, you can supplement with more glasses. This might be taster glasses of varying types, or maybe a brandy glass. The only thing you have to remember is that the glasses must be small, clear and tulip shaped. Strong spirits tend to be a bit closed on the nose straight out of the bottle. A single drop of water can help open up the golden drops. This will give you the full taste sensation and aroma. We are talking about a single drop and no more than 2. You can use tap water or cheap bottled water. The water is meant to open up the spirits, not add any taste. Remember when you taste. First notice the color. Which must always be clear. Then the sensation on your nose, which you should spend some time on. Whatever you smell it right, no 2 people sense or smell or taste is the same. What I smell and taste might be entirely different from what you sense in your nose and on your palate. Finally, we move the drink around our mouth before swallowing. And yes, we swallow. This is not a wine tasting, so there will be no spitting. We need to experience the finish, and that is why we swallow. If possible, you should stay away from tobacco, coffee, beer, and soda during the tasting. These might be great to enjoy before and after the tasting, but they will ruin your impression of a good spirits. Now we should be ready to get started. Riise Royal Danish Naval Cadet. The Riise Royal Danish Navy, in all of its varieties, is our lifeblood. Ever since the Viking Age, the Danes have been known as a proud seafaring people, and Denmark still keeps the flag flying. Although a small country, Danish ships are still seen plying the world's oceans every day. Naval Cadet is just one of several Navy blends, but not just any blend. Danish Navy tradition has it that as a Naval Cadet, you will carry a dagger as part of your uniform. When you become a naval officer, the dagger will be replaced by a sword. The Danish Naval Cadets carry their daggers with pride, no doubt about that. They are talented and determined young people who know that they are a part of an old tradition that brings them certain privileges, but also serious duties. The Naval Cadet is a traditional Navy spirit drink whose 42% alcohol volume will bring you inner warmth, ripe fruit, minerals and metallic note that gives Naval Cadet its own unique style. The color is polished rosewood with a warm glow. It has an elegant, deep nose with licorice root, orange peel, coconut, high ester aromas, mint, and a touch of fruit salad. Naval Cadet has a sweet, round and bold mouthfeel that balances the richness with the green notes of eucalyptus and mint, the yellow notes of citrus, and the bitterness of licorice and balsamic. The finish is long and lingering. The impression changes from fruity and subtle to more soft and warm notes of leather. Cheers. While you enjoy the Naval Cadet, I will tell you a short anecdote. I've called it, "You take what you want." When several hundred years ago Europeans left the shores of Europe, they set sail to establish colonies in the New World. Denmark also wanted to join. The old kingdom was then, as now, a great seafaring nation. Countries like England, the Netherlands, France and Spain, however, were far more powerful. Denmark had to take what the others had missed. The St. Thomas and the St. John were annexed without much trouble. The people already living there did not have a say. The only problem was that the whole idea of annexing the two islands to Denmark was to grow sugarcane. The mere thought of producing Riise rum would be absurd without the molasses from the sugarcanes. However, none of the islands were suited for that purpose, but St. Croix was. The only problem was that St. Croix had already been annexed to France. Fortunately, France was willing to sell the then uninhabited island to Denmark. Riise 1888 gold medal. In 1888, the Danish capital had really started to grow. The fortifications had been abolished years before, and metropolitan ambition was seen everywhere. Today, we can still see traces of the old fortifications. Just think about the Tivoli Gardens, Ørstedsparken, and Østre Anlæg. The Tivoli Gardens, the new amusement park founded by Georg Carstensen, hosted the Nordic Exhibition of Industry and Agriculture and Art of 1888. The exhibition was based on the same model as the World Exhibitions in Chicago and Paris. One of Riise's sons, Valdemar, had the honor of representing Riise's product in the West Indies Pavilion. Lots of competitions were organized. Who had made the best harvester, the best butter, or something completely different. Riise's rum were also showed off at a trade fair whose focus was actually the newest industrial products. But other food products were also on display. The visitors could see how butter was made on a modern equipment rather than on the old-fashioned churns that most people knew. It was also possible to get something as exotic as a cup of hot chocolate. An actual small-scale chocolate factory had been established at the trade fair. A novelty around 1888 was water closets or toilets. An entire entrance portal had been decorated with large amounts of industrially produced water traps. However, we do not know whether it was actually possible to try a modern toilet. But it doesn't stop here. Ask yourself, which category did Riise win? It is safe to say that it wasn't the award for Best Harvester or Miss Wet T-shirt. But what was it then? I'll get back to the answer. The large trade fair had all sorts of competitions, and the exhibitors could win medals, and one of the winners was Riise. Did such a trade fair have a large audience? Oh yes. At that time, Denmark had about 2 million inhabitants. The exhibition had 1,800,000 visitors during the few months it was open. The drink you hold in your hand is a modern take on how the spirit drink tasted, smelled and looked back then. The color is polished amber. The nose is soft oak, old leather and dried apricots. It has a taste of warm spices, Christmas cake and orange peel, ending with a hint of English wine gums. The finish is dried fruit, old oak and a note of sherry. Enjoy your gold medal while I take you down the path of history. The concept of colonial produce comes from the times when products were brought home to Europe from the colonies. Spices, plants, exotic textiles, and not the least sugar. For a long period of time, the price of sugar were higher than the price of gold. With sugar comes molasses, the syrupy substance that can be turned into rum if fermented, distilled, and aged. Rum became a gold mine to Exo Reserve. Because as a pharmacist he was able to distill, he was also a bit of a wizard when it came to blending and aging the rum. And here at last, back to my question. Which category did Riise win? Well, the case was he won the category of vinegar. Well, I shouldn't say that this tasted like vinegar, but the category meant everything fermented. So it could be wine, vinegar, rum, or anything else that was fermented. And this is fermented, and Riise won. Santos Dumont heritage. History is something we take with us, and where would we be without it? We proudly claim to stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. There's not always any logic to what decides and what we say and do today. However, we all have a heritage from the past to protect. A past that in many ways cannot be compared with today. However, we take the risk and use the word heritage for the next drink. Heritage. People has been distilling alcohol for more than 5,000 years. Maybe even longer. Rum has been distilled for at least 400 to 500 years. Through the years, we have refined the distillation process and learned from the experiences of those before us. That is our heritage. So the small sample you have in the bottle I'm showing you here is the fruit of the heritage that has been passed down to us for centuries. Santos Dumont heritage is the heritage of the Brazilian family that became legendary coffee and sugar makers. Santos Dumont heritage is the fifth modern interpretation of the Santos Dumont label. History had taught us that if we blend rum made from juice extracted from Brazilian sugarcane with rum made from molasses from other places in the world, and if we allow our blenders to make the superior blends without caring about whether they choose the oldest and the most exquisite casks at their disposal. And if we disregard the limited number of casks we can get our hands on, then we will have carried on the heritage of Santos Dumont in the best possible way. We make very small batches of this divine drink. Each batch is numbered, and the number of bottles varies from one batch to the next. You will be able to notice subtle differences depending on which batch you try. But that is all part of the charm of good craftsmanship, if you ask us. Always recognizable and yet always slightly different. Let's take a closer look at Santos Dumont heritage. This spirit drink is rose-colored Baltic amber. The nose is leather and apricot, hits you right away, followed by smooth tobacco notes. The taste gives ripe apricots and coconut sweetened with demerara sugar and a touch of citrus fruit, followed by mocha and cocoa notes. It's extremely complex. The finish is wonderfully smooth and complex. Ripe tropical fruits in great harmony with cocoa and tobacco notes. Cheers! Let's taste the heritage while I continue down the path of history. The higher you climb. Since early time, man has dreamt of flying. Santos Dumont lived out the dream at the beginning of the last century. However, he and his peers only managed to fly at low altitudes. Travels into space still lay some years into the future. However, it did not keep artists from fantasizing about it. Jules Verne had already taken us to the moon in 2 of his novels. And even Denmark took part of the trend. The Danish silent movie, A Trip to Mars, from 1918, also described how ordinary pot-bellied and mustached people in living room-like settings traveled to outer space without any other protection than their normal clothes. It is strange to think that only about 40 years later, man would orbit Earth. Riise Exo Reserve Superior Cask. Riise Exo Reserve is the first bottle in the very extensive Exo series. You will always be able to recognize the bottle, which is tall and has the name Riise cast into the glass. You will find no indication of age or origin on the bottle. However, you will always be able to recognize the taste, nose, and color. All Riise editions are what you could call small batches, made in small portions. In this case, only a few thousand bottles per batch. 1,000 bottles might not sound as small when you look at your own drink cabinet at home. However, it is a very small portion when you need to satisfy a large international market that is craving Riise. So it's not about using the same casks every time we make a new batch. It is more about making an exact copy of the previous batch. In order to do that, our master blenders need to create an exact clone of the previous batch, but by using different casks. It is the end product that needs to be the same. It is an art form, an Exo Reserve in a nutshell. Success is achieved when the blenders manage to blend the right casks and nothing else. So what can we expect from a spirit drink like Exo Reserve? What tastes a mature spirit drink with distinctive cask notes? However, it is so much more than the taste, so let's start with the color. The color is light gold. At first, cool mint appears on top of toffee and leather, and then a hint of citrus. The taste is eucalyptus, tartine plum pie, and a hint of white tea with bergamot oil. For the finish, the leather and bergamot tone out gradually. While you're enjoying your drink, I'll give you a small anecdote from the good old days in Charlotte Amalie. The capital of St. Thomas was a very modern city when Riise lived there. It had been rebuilt according to the highest standards after being destroyed by a tropical storm. It even allowed Riise to use a brand new mean of transport. He was able to use a private railway when he needed to transport goods to and from the pharmacy at the center of the city to the ships at the harbor. It sounds a bit much, and perhaps even over the top. But Riise did in fact build his own private railway from the pharmacy to the harbor. Here he could use the small carriages to avoid the accidents that were bound to happen when he transported his goods via the cobblestone roads. Cheers. Exo Reserve, NPU Ombre d'Or, Excellence. If you stand on a ladder, you can choose to remain where you are, take a step down, or step up into the thin air. Let's take another step up. Imagine the pride of standing with a generous glass of Nonplus Ultra Very Rare. I think that most would agree that it is absolutely fabulous. So why mess with it? Well, because we could not help ourselves. At Exo Reserve, we always challenge conventions in a constant quest to get closer to nirvana. When a new batch of NPU Very Rare has passed the blender's harsh and strict requirements, and it is on its way to the craving lovers of the sweet nectar, we still choose to take some aside for further aging. Some years ago, we discovered that a new batch of the precious spirit from Exo Reserve matched fantastically with sweet and gentle white wines. Both the demure wines like Sauterne and Gewürztraminer, and the desert wines Pinot de Charente and Baume de Venise, to name just a few. We add the extra touch by putting it in selected casks that used to hold these grand white wines. It is up to you to decide whether you prefer the result or the original Nonplus Ultra Very Rare. The vinous character certainly adds a greater depth. Ambre d'Or means golden amber. Just as the color. It is clearly vinous on the nose, but we also get pickled yellow plums and orange peel, heather honey, and slight aromatic burnt note from the oak barrels, shortbread biscuits, and a light floral scented overtone. The taste of the ripe and aromatic pickled plums dominates the taste, while all the notes from the nose are present. The rich taste tones out very, very gradually. Cheers and enjoy. While you enjoy your drink, let me offer you a bit of history. Exo Reserve considered himself a scientist, as did his contemporaries. The most a scientist could ever dream of at that time was to be remembered by posterity. Perhaps because of the discovery of an unknown plant, a newfound planet, or maybe a groundbreaking new theory, Exo Reserve was ambitious and wanted to win fame and honor. He organized several expensive expeditions to faraway islands in the West Indies to look for that which no one else has discovered yet. He managed to find blank spots in the flora or fauna, and he often shipped these discoveries to zoologists in Copenhagen for further studying. Riise gave lectures about plants and animals on several occasions, but only once in a scientific context, when he presented his paper on some extinct semi-fossil land snails from St. Croix in Copenhagen in 1860. Riise's scientific expeditions were mainly financed by his pharmacy. The rum and other earnings from the pharmacy made Riise a wealthy man. Labels like Riise Old St. Croix rum and Riise Guava rum gave him the fame he never achieved from science. Royal Danish Navy rum, Navy strength 55%. Back in the good old days, it was common practice for sailors to be paid part of their wage in spirits, a measure of rum. The rum was administered by the quartermaster. He was also the one who purchased the rums. He had to spend part of his wage on food and drink for the crew, and on the daily measure of rum. The fact that he had to buy the rum for his own hard-earned money probably meant that the quartermaster tried to make the rum go as long as possible. He could do so by adding water to the rum. However, the sailors were not stupid. They knew what he did. To make sure that they were not given short weight, the sailors took their own precautions. They knew a trick. They took a pinch of gunpowder and poured a few drops of rum on it. They then set spark to the gunpowder. If the gunpowder ignited, then everything was fine. The rum was proof. The rum contained an alcohol volume of at least 57%. You may then ask yourself why this Navy drink only contains 55%. The answer is simple. The best taste was found at this alcohol volume for this blend. Apart from the massive volume of alcohol, the Royal Danish Navy 55% is very easy to drink, so be careful. As its relatives, Exo Reserve Royal Danish Navy 55% has plenty of Navy character. There's no denying the mineral notes and precious metals, but the sweetness, as we know it, it is intact. So what is it we have before us? The color is mahogany. The nose is stewed dark fruit, burnt figs, orange peel, and a small, well-integrated bite from the otherwise high alcohol content. The taste is creamy, spicy, very full-bodied, with sherry caramel, dates, cardamom, and eucalyptus. The finish is long and creamy, and spiced with a delightful mint overtone. Cheers to the 7 Seas. While you enjoy your drinks, allow me to tell you an anecdote. The beautiful island in the South Funen archipelago. Today, Ærø is known as a beautiful tourist island, with its rolling hills and its fine beaches. However, make no mistake, Ærø is much more than that. The contact to the sea is still part of the local identity. Most people tend to think of the two towns of Marstal and Ærøskøbing whenever speaking about Ærø. However, Ærø has plenty of other towns and villages. Riise was not born in any of the two towns, although he lived in Ærøskøbing for most of his upbringing. Riise was born in the village of Store Riise, and that is where the name comes from. If you happen to be on Ærø, a trip to the small village is highly recommendable. Sit down and relax and enjoy a lunch in Store Riise. Meanwhile, you can let your mind wander back to when Albert Heinrich Riise was born. Santos Dumont Gewürztraminer. When Santos Dumont walked the streets of Paris at the beginning of the last century, you can imagine how the young man would be attracted by a small sidewalk restaurant. He would probably have a seat and enjoy a small glass while observing the Parisians walking by. He might even have been thinking about his next ambitious project. I cannot say what was Santos Dumont's choice of drink. However, I can easily imagine that he would have enjoyed this wonderful liqueur, which now, more than 100 years later, carries his name. If I was sitting outside enjoying the sun at a small cafe in Alsace, the perfect treat would be a small dish of duck terrine and a glass of Gewürztraminer. The sweet wine made on a wonderful grape is the heart of this exquisite liqueur from Santos Dumont. The wonderful drink in your hands is the result of a dedicated and determined effort to make the best liqueur based on Santos Dumont's distillates and aged on the wonderful casks that used to hold the magnificent white wines. The Gewürztraminer grape can be found in many places, but is particularly known from Alsace on the border between Germany and France. It has a warm spiciness and sweetness without being intrusive. It is almost like alchemy when we choose these casks for the finishing touches. The liqueur and the cask blend together naturally. Liqueur was extremely popular at the beginning of the 20th century, and today we can see a new rise in popularity. When we look at the light as it touches the glass, we see a beautiful, shiny gold color. The nose is tropical fruits, wine gums, milk chocolate, and a slight touch of lovage. The taste offers warm waves of orange and apricot together, with coconut and spicy notes. The finish is wonderfully sweet, and everlasting warm spicy notes combined with tropical fruit embodied in a luscious vinous touch. Cheers to you all, and here is another history. Santos Dumont did not give his aircrafts bombastic names. They were only given a number, and the numbers were consecutive. Whether it was a hot air balloon, an airship, or an aircraft. In fact, it was an aircraft number 6, which was lighter than air, that he became the first to fly around the Eiffel Tower in 1901. Number 5 was an airship. In 1909, he suffered a setback when he crashed one of his own aircrafts. He got away unharmed, but suffered mentally afterwards. He died only 59 years old, weakened from sclerosis. He hung himself on July 23rd in 1932. A sad ending for a great man. Nonplus Ultra Black Edition. The moonlight sparkles in the faceted bottle, which is black as the night, and whose content is revealed only by a discreet silver oval. Nonplus Ultra Black Edition. Perhaps the most extreme blend to have ever left Exo Riise's sacred vaults. This giant stands firmly on the shoulders of its close relative. Nonplus Ultra, very rare. However, Black Edition takes a quantum leap in the quest to create the perfect blend. In our world, we always use old barrels, or casks as we prefer to call them. A new cask is always burned on the inside before use. The burning makes the cask tight. The charred wood swells, which increases the surface area. The casks used to mature the final blend have been burned for longer than usual. This means that Black Edition can penetrate deeper and come into contact with wood grain that has never been in contact with alcohol before. The casks we use are old bourbon casks. The fresh wood of American oak offers pungent notes of vanilla and makes the final Black Edition truly unique. A spirit drink like no other. So what is the refined and lush experience Nonplus Ultra Black Edition treats us to? The color is wonderful mahogany. The nose is first and foremost overwhelming without being intrusive. Peach and milk chocolate, butter caramel, the taste is milk chocolate with hints of almonds and orange. Very rich and creamy. Towards the end with a hint of tannin. Finish, I would say, gingerbread with orange glaze. Let's toast and enjoy this image while I give you a bit of bonus info. When I was a kid, most older generations enjoy recounting to children and grandchildren how hard it was growing up when they were young. Exo Reserve would reportedly use any occasion to talk about his hardship as a young pharmacist apprentice, how he stood in the piercing cold in the pharmacy's yard, cleaning glasses with strong distillates, and how he had to show up long before anyone else to light the stove. However, Exo Reserve's hardship did not scare his sons, who both became skilled pharmacists and not the least, world-class rum makers. Exo Reserve licorice shot, hot. Whether you have a frog in your throat or are simply yearning for something delicious, then Exo Reserve licorice shot, hot, the somewhat fiercer big brother of Exo Reserve licorice shot. It's just what you need. Pleasant and accommodating at first, but don't be fooled. There's more beneath the jet black surface than you might think. An extra shot of ammonium chloride adds an extra kick to the finish. This drum is truly made for greatness. And behind it all, you'll notice the licorice softened, but definitely with an edge.